Alright, ladies and gentlemen, Chief Master Short Lieutenant Smith for the Force Training Group. I said I was going to put this video up last night. I had some other stuff come up and I couldn't get this edited the way I wanted, which I don't edit these at all. I just couldn't get it worded how I wanted. I don't use a script in case y'all haven't figured that out yet. So, we're going to talk about covert draw strokes. Alright. Now I don't have to worry about hearing an unexpected loud noise. The covert draw stroke is different than a true blown or full out combat draw stroke. If y'all hear anything crazy, my dog decided he needs to come in here. Stay away from the door, Fred. Stay away from the door, Fred. Alright. Anyway, I didn't want to knock my camera over. But plain words, a combat draw stroke, as we know, left comes all the way out and is put into the fight. That's not necessarily the case with a covert draw stroke. A covert draw stroke can be as simple as getting the hand on the gun, or the knife. Doesn't necessarily have to be the gun. This can be a covert draw stroke as a start. I mean, you can actually stand here carrying the appendix position with your thumb behind the weapon ready to grip, where it's rock your fingers back and go about your business. There's a time and place for it, of course, like everything else in life. And there's a lot of rationale about fair play that seems to be out there. And I'm not a fan of playing fair. I mean, that's why I didn't play sports when I was a kid, because I believe that if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. And a lot of places don't seem to agree with me on that assessment. But, you know, when we look at the criminal mentality, okay, we see that there is no sense of fair play when you're playing with someone who refuses to accept any rule. All right? These people want to make you a victim some way, some shape, some form. They're not going to let you play fair, okay? Or a successful criminal won't let you play fair, that is. So you think, how can we avoid things, obviously, but if we must use force, what can we do, considering we're already at a disadvantage having to wait for it to be justified, to be more expeditious about that deployment of force? If we're in extremely close quarters and someone's coming too close, how many times y'all see me in my videos standing here talking like this? There's a reason for that. Okay? It's habit. When I'm talking to someone, if it's someone I don't know, and I don't know half of y'all, probably more than that, who are going to be seeing this video, you know, I stand here like this. Doesn't look like anything. I got my thumb in my pocket, but I'm ready if it happens. If bad things happen there. Okay? That's one example. Another example of it could be, alright, and that wasn't too covert, but getting the blade into play quietly, you know, it could be simple as this. Alright? Some are more than others. Okay? Now, to actually be covert with the blade, I like my ruckus because I can keep it right behind my leg and let the axis lock on it do its thing, and it's over. Silent and pretty simple. Crack my back, up in my pocket, drag it out. There we go. And do what needs to be done. Obviously, anything that you're carrying, the ability to get it into play, unknown, unseen, depends on where and how you're carrying it. Like in the appendix position, I can go ahead and get my hand on my gun and just kind of lift it up out of the way and obstruct it a little bit. Or literally I have to just thrust my hand down and pop it right up, which is a hell of a lot faster than trying to clear concealment and any of that. Right? If I'm carrying behind the hip, that becomes a bit more difficult. Small at the back though, no big deal. I do not recommend carrying small at the back. Okay? But you see, I can crack my back, simple as pie, and I'm ready to go. Okay? My hand's on my weapon, right there, and we can deal. That's one example of it, and there are others. Obviously, grab the cap right quick. Okay. We're walking around town, something's going crazy. That can become that. Okay? Not the most covert thing in the world, but nevertheless, it does work. Maybe you've already got your weapon out for whatever reason. Yeah, it's obvious there's something here, but it's not obvious what it is. Okay? That's one trick you can use, obviously. Another one is the old police officer standby on the traffic stop, behind the leg. Shoulder holsters work great for a covert draw. Sure, button here. Because if the gun is being worn properly, no, I'm not wearing shoulder holster, but that's like that under my arm. I can stand here just like this, it doesn't look like anything, and we're ready to get in a fight. Okay? Now, I know some people don't like shoulder holsters, and you know, I understand why they're banned in training practices and all that, but this notion that shoulder holsters are unsafe and blah blah. Look, if you're really worried about muzzling somebody behind you, you shouldn't be carrying a gun in the first place. Honestly. Because muzzling something is unavoidable. It really is. Whether you carry in front of the hip or behind the hip, you're going to muzzle something you don't want to put bullet in. Right? So, that's a moot point. Right? Personally, I like a horizontal shoulder holster because if I'm ever accosted from the rear, bear hug, choke, whatever, I can shoot whoever that is without having to draw the gun. But that's another issue. Back to the covert draw. Another option where you're getting the gun covertly and ready is answering the door. You know, someone knocks on the door at 3 in the morning. Who's there? All right, I do this all the time. I'll put my gun on the back of the door frame, and I can handle business if I need to. Of course, I've usually got what you probably heard down here on the floor, heard me hollering at earlier. He's usually barking and raising hell. But anyway, you know, you can get the gun in the fight early. You don't necessarily have to wait until it's shooting time. So what kind of situation is a covert draw of a gun or a knife or whatever really useful to the legal defender? Well, you sit here and think, and it's like, what situation isn't it? Anytime you see something progressing to the point of where it may become violent, you do not have to wait for it to become violent to take preparative action for using force. I did not say use force. I did not say draw your weapon and point in on them. That's brandishing a gun. That's actually assault by pointing a gun in this state. It's a specific charge. But that's brandishing a weapon, drawing it out of the holster, putting it behind your leg, maybe covering up with your cap. May very well be brandishing. This isn't. Standing here like this, maybe I'm moving, doing what I got to do. I can actually get my hand all the way on it once I get clear. All right, and I'm still fulfilling my duty to retreat if such one exists in your jurisdiction as it does in mine. Anytime that situation that you think you may need to use force starts progressing where it looks like danger is increasingly imminent, you do not have to wait to start taking the preparative action. Whether you carry open or concealed, and that could be a knife, a gun, whatever, getting to the gun is the longest action. So if I can go ahead and do that, and get that took care of now, when the threat comes, I'm right there at it, and I can press out and do what needs to be done. Okay? Sometimes this holster doesn't always come out of the waistband like it's supposed to. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. Anyway, you know, I don't have to lift and clear and come down. I mean, and honestly, if I can just stand here and be ready, even if it's just here, 1, 2, you know, I've eliminated that first access by drawing covertly, or at least initiating my draw covertly. So I'm going to put a pretty detailed blog posting on this. It'll probably be later tonight, but I'm going to put a pretty detailed blog post on the website about this. Check us out on the website, totalforcetraining.weebly.com. Check us out on Facebook, Google+, Twitter. We're all on there. If you look up Twitter, it's Kenny B. Smith. That's me, direct. If you look us up on Facebook, obviously, it's facebook.com/totalforce. YouTube, I think, Total Force Training. I know the channel name is Total Force. I think it's used like YouTube.com and whatever, however you get to the channel, the name there is Total Force Training. Google Plus, I couldn't tell you, look up Total Force Training Group. But anyway, we're on there. Give us a check out, give us a holler. Hope y'all enjoy this video. And work on the dirty trick of the covert draw. It's a good tactic to learn. Stay frosty, stay in the fight. Come on, Fred.